Hello guys, here's how to solve work problems in 3 cases. So please stay tuned. And now let's consider the first case in work problem, case 1, where the question is how long will they work together and finish the job. At ang given ay yung time for each of them needed to finish the job. Okay, so we have an example here. Mary and Carol are doing a math project. Mary can do the job alone in 6 hours while Carol can do it in 4 hours. How long will they finish the job if they work together? So for any case in work problem, you can use this simple working equation where at the numerator, we put the time they need to work together and finish the job, while in the denominators, you put the time for each of them works alone and finish the job. Always equals to 1, which stands for 1 job. Okay? So since in our problem, yung time they need to finish the job if they work together is unknown, so i-represent natin yung numerators nila ng x at yung mga denominators naman ay yung mga time na kailangan nila to finish the job working alone. So for for Mary, it's 6 hours at for Carol, it's 4 hours equals 1. Since we have denominators and we have to eliminate them, so we have to multiply the whole equation by the least common denominator. And since 6 and 4 yung mga denominators natin, ang LCD or least common denominator is 12. The least common denominator is 12, and it will be distributed because we have to multiply all the terms inside the parentheses to eliminate nga the denominator. So distribute 12 to all the terms. We have 12x over 6 because 12 times 6 is 12x over 6. I-copy lang natin si 6. And 12 times x is 12x over 4 equals 12 times 1 here is 12. And simplifying, we have dividing the numerator by the denominator. So 12 divided by 6 and 12 divided by 4, we get 2x plus 3x equals 12. And combining similar terms, because 2x and 3x are similar terms, then combining their numerical coefficients, you have 5x equals 12. And solving for x, then divide all sides by 5, which is the coefficient of x. So 5 over 5 cancel out, and 12 over 5. And now we have x equals 12 divided by 5 is 2.4. But x stands for the time they need to work together to finish the job. And our unit of time here is in hours. Therefore, our answer should be in hours. So they can do the job together in 2.4 hours. And now let's go to case 2, which is the opposite of case 1. Ang kailangan naman is the time for one of them working alone and finish the job. At ang mga givens ay yung time they work together and finish the job at yung time ng isa to finish the job. Okay? So, example, if they work together, Mary and Carol can finish a job in 4 hours. Mary can do the job alone in 6 hours. How long can Carol do the job alone? Again, gaya ng sinabi ko previously, yung working equation natin is applicable pa rin. Equals 1. So, together, over alone of 1 plus together over alone of 2 equals 1. So, always equal to 1. Now, in this problem, the time they need to work together and finish the job is 4. So, this one. So, we have to substitute the numerator by 4, the numerators. And for Mary, she can do the job in 6 hours. So, yung isang alone, palitan natin ng 6 hours. And for Carol, hindi natin alam. That is the unknown. So, represent natin muna sa x equals 1. And again, since mayroon tayong mga denominators na kailangang i-eliminate, as usual, we have to multiply the whole equation by the LCD or the least common denominator. So, in this case, it's 6x. No? Our least common denominator is 6x. Then, distribute the LCD to all the terms inside the parentheses. So we get 6x times, here, we multiplied 6x times 4 over 6. And on the second fraction, 6x times 4 over 6 equals, over x equals 6x. And continue. So, since we can divide 6 by 6, so, ang i-multiply na lang natin is si x at si 4. So, we have 4x. Then, divide also x by another x in the denominator. Then, ang mamumultiply na lang is 6 and 4. So, it's 24 equals, of course, 1 times 6x equals 6x. And by rule of combining similar terms, we have to combine, or we have to transpose 4x to the other side of the equation. So, si 24 na lang ang naiwan, while si 4x, dahil nag-transpose, its sign becomes negative. And the previous, or originally, it's positive. So, 24 equals 6x minus 4x na. And continue. So, because 6 minus 4 is 2, then we have now 2x. So, 24 equals 2x. And, as usual, we have to leave the x alone. So, divide all sides by 2. And if we divide 2x by 2, if we divide 2x by 2 here, so eliminated na si 2. And if we divide 24 by 2, so divide by 2, divide by 2, then we will get 12. So therefore, x is equal to 12. And since, again, the unit of time is hours, it's 12 hours. 12 hours matatapos ni Carol yung job alone. So our answer is Carol alone can do the job in 12 hours. And now let's consider another case where the time that each of them does the job alone is unknown, but with a given condition, and the only given is the time where they work together and do or finish the job. Okay, so let's have this example. Mary and Carol are doing a math project. Carol can do the work 3 hours longer than Mary. If they work together, they can finish the project in 2 hours. How long would each of them take to do the project alone? So before we go to the solution, we have to represent the amount of time that each of them needs to do the job alone by the initial of their names. So let us represent C be the time Carol takes in doing the job alone, while M be the time Mary takes in doing the job alone. M for Mary. And so, again, our solution follows our working equation together, or the amount of time they work together, to be put on the numerators, while the amount of time each of them needs to do the job alone is to be put in the denominators. And of course, the sum of these two fractions always equal to 1. Continue. Since in our problem, the time that they need to do the job working together and finish it is 2. From here, 2. And the time for Mary and Carol to do the job working together or working alone is M for Mary and C for Carol equals 1. But there is a condition in the problem that Carol can do the work 3 hours longer than Mary. So therefore, we have to substitute C or Carol with 3 hours longer than Mary. So M plus 3 now for Carol. And since we have denominators, and in solving for equations like this, we have to eliminate the denominators. We have to multiply the whole equation by the least common denominator. In this case, just take the denominators to be the least common denominators and distribute them by multiplying the LCD to each of the terms inside the parentheses in the equation. Now let's continue. So when we multiply the LCD to the first term, 2 over M, then M will be eliminated, and the only multiplier now is M plus 3. And 2 from here. Again, if we multiply the LCD to 2 over M plus 3, so the only remaining factor to be multiplied na lang is M. Equals 1 times M times quantity M plus 3 is ito na yon. Na kahit you may or may not write 1. Then continue by distributive property of multiplication over addition. 2 is to be multiplied to M and 2 also is to be multiplied to 3. Ganon din si M times M at si M times 3. So we have 2M plus 6 because 2 times M is 2M. So here 2M, 2 times 3, so 6. 2 times M rin, 2M, so just copy. M times M squared, or M times M becomes M squared, and M times 3 becomes 3M. And by combining similar terms to further simplify our equation, we have to add 2M and 2M at the left side of the equation. So we have a result of 4M and 6 to be copied. So then we have M squared plus 3M pa rin at the right side of the equation. Then, all terms in the left side of the equation is to be transposed so that the only remaining term in the left side is 0. And we have formed a standard form of a quadratic equation. So, ganyan na. Oops, we have to erase muna yung mga arrows natin. So, magiging m squared plus 3m galing dito. Si 4m na na-transpose naging negative. Si 6 na na-transpose naging negative din. Then, by continuing, we have 0 equals m squared minus m minus 6 because 3 minus 4 is negative 1m, or the coefficient of m here is negative 1, but you may not write it anymore, and negative 6 here. And by factoring, the roots of this quadratic equation can be easily identified as, or the factors of this quadratic equation, I should say, are m minus 3 times quantity m plus 2. And by zero product property, we have solved for the roots of this quadratic equation as m sub 1 equals 3, this one, and m sub 2 equals negative 2. So this one. And by continuing again, it takes 3 hours for Mary to do the job alone, while it takes 6 hours for Carol to do the job alone. Why 6 hours for Carol? Because according to the condition, 3 hours longer than Mary. And that's it.